Hey, this is Majin Oni. Here's some comic reviews for you. First up is Secret Avengers number 11. What I gotta say about this is I'm not really happy with this Infinity crossover. First of all, you have not the greatest of art. You've interrupted a decent storyline with AIM, the new Supreme Leader, Mockingbird behind enemy lines, and she's basically stuck between a rock and a hard place. And you give us this crossover, which really never really. I mean, I can see why it had to happen, but at the same time, I'm like, oh. And then you didn't even end it strongly. I mean, it was like, granted, it showed you, I guess you can say, here's what some superheroes are like, and here's what some newbies are like who can't take the pain. And I'm just like, I didn't really need to see this. Did not need to read it. Just give me back my main storyline so I can go back to being happy. And this probably should have been close to being the bad book of the week, but I'm telling you, that Cataclysm book was horrible. Superior Spider-Man Annual number 1. Now, I will say this. I saw this cover, and then I thought to myself, ugh, ugh, why is there an annual? We don't need this book. Horrible idea. Somebody should be fired. It's not even Slott. And then I started reading it, and then I'm like, oh, this is just nonsense. This is just wasting my time. It's Blackout. He's taking Peter, going after Peter Parker because, he doesn't like Spider-Man, and there's his job, and then he wants to do this and that. And then, Peter comes racing back, and it shows what a wonderful boy Peter Parker is as Doc Ock, and how much of a senseless jerk he is as Peter Parker. And then we get to where he becomes superior. When have you ever seen Peter Parker face a supervillain and he's never met before, and yet he does his homework? He calls Ghost Rider and says, hey, what's up with this guy? And he learns everything he needs to know. And now, granted, it looks like he skips out on Doc Strange because he doesn't want to get caught, but then he goes after Blackout. And I gotta tell you, this whole battle between the two really, really just made me go, this is freaking amazing. Now, I fully realize there's going to be a lot of Spider-Man fans who are going to hate this. And they're going to curse Slott even more for putting another hero into this situation. But I gotta tell you, this was freaking amazing. It's kind of like this. How many times have we seen a superhero who's got their family in danger? Or friends in danger. And they just beat up the supervillain just enough. And they let the supervillain go. And in this case, Oxspider knew that if he didn't send the right message, that Blackout would just come back. And let me tell you, I'm going to have to give some spoilers here, because I got to show you how freaking awesome this was. First of all, he knows ahead of time that he's going to get bit. So he prepares. And he puts like this shielding around his neck. And then, after he sends Aunt May, to safety, going down that street, he begins to torture Blackout. Tortures him and sends the message, you better tell everybody you don't mess with Parker or his family or his friends or else. And that was freaking amazing. Freaking amazing. And, it just shows you, I guess, not even the difference, because we already know what the difference is, but this is a Spider-Man that doesn't take crap from anybody, and he will do anything. And, in a strange way, it really is making Spider, Dr. Octopus, more heroic than he's ever been before. The fact that he's, I don't want to say taking an interest in actually protecting people, it's just insanity. But, of course, the way he's doing it is just it's too much. You know, he's crossed the line of what a hero should or shouldn't do. But on the other hand, you know, it does bring out dialogue in that people will go, hey, is it justified? You know, personally, in this case, I think in a way it almost is justified, just because if he doesn't do it, then the villain will keep coming back, and Aunt May will die eventually. I loved every minute of the ending. Okay, Daredevil Man Without Fear. I don't know. It almost, to me, looks like this book was just... Wade maybe wasn't happy with it because this book just wasn't strong. It just proved how much of a dick Matt Murdock is. You have these, you know, the famous monster type characters, and they don't really do much. I mean, yeah, they save his life, but realistically, you could have done this whole story without dealing with these characters. The funny part is when, you know, Matt Murdock or Daredevil's going, so where are they? And Jack Russell's like, there. And then Daredevil's like, I can't tell where there is. So he tries to play it off. So I think that's kind of funny. And I'm really surprised that he keeps going to that well. And don't get me wrong, I'm loving every bit of that because it is showing his big limitation that, you know, I guess people have always taken for granted in the past, where he always knew everything. And it's really showing him that, yeah, he really is a blind person, blind superhero. But overall, like I said, I mean, I heard Daredevil's being canceled, and I guess it's going to go to a digital format. And part of me, like, I was really enjoying it, but these last two issues were just horrible. Okay, Uncanny XMen number 14. What we have here is a young mutant who's having some issues here. He can't shoot energy beams. He can't control storms. He can't turn into steel or anything like that, teleport. But he can shape change. And, you know, Cyclops is giving him a rough time. And until Emma Frost goes, we need to talk. And I was like, that does not look like the Emma Frost that I remember, but I'm definitely surprised to see that look. Now, basically what she figures out is this guy has this power where while he shape changes, what it also does is it releases this pheromone that makes you feel comfortable. So if he can control his ability, what he can do in effect is he can come to a complete stranger, gain their confidence, and get what he needs from that person. So he really is an extremely powerful mutant. You know, that power is just unbelievable at what you can get away with in that. And what Emma does is she basically sends him on a quest, so to speak. They go to Atlantic City and they're trying to test out his powers. That doesn't really go very well originally, but then he starts playing with it, and then you can see him shape change, and you can see how the way he shape changes, he's changing it to like an appearance that the other person would feel comfortable with. And then she sends him on a real challenge of delivering a letter to somebody. And that part, I mean, if you look at the entire story, this entire story was actually really good in terms of a character story. I mean, you took a character who was really potentially one of the weakest characters, and then you quickly escalated his power, and now he's actually a potential threat. And I really like that. And I like the way they did it. They did it in such a way where it was just interesting to read. And so I definitely give Bendis props for putting this one together. And, you know, I don't know what they're going to do with the character, where it's going to go. But at least now he's, you know, like I said, more interesting. And I definitely enjoyed it. The art wasn't too bad, too. The art kind of fit pretty well with what's going on in the story. Okay, Batwoman Year Zero. I'm just gonna be really brief with this. You know, I've dropped this issue title. This is the last issue. I forgot to drop it before, and I cannot support DC's the way they handled the Batwoman character, telling them, excuse me, she can't get married because it would make her too old. I'm like, really? She already is kind of old, you know? And then that's a stupid reason. But granted, it's the same reason I guess every other superhero gets. So at least they're remaining consistent. But my main gripe with this issue is we kind of just recently did get a origin issue of Batwoman, and I feel like we just got it again, but they kind of changed things, and I'm like, oh, I just don't want to deal with this. Was my general thought. Now, as I was reading it, I mean, I was trying to keep an open mind to it, but I mean, everything about it, it just, to me, it became a very sterile, and it just doesn't seem like the same book it used to be. The book used to be something special. It used to be it had a very special place in the DC universe with its look, its feel, and to me now, this book is just now like basically coming more in line with the Batman universe. They're tying it all into the Batman mythos, and it's like it didn't, it worked best separate. I understand that that's not going to work because it's Batwoman, but it was nice to have something that was outside of, the Batman, Nightwing, Robin. But, and I knew eventually she'd have to come into the fold, so to speak. But, I don't know, I just kind of wish that they took a little bit more time with it. And overall, it just, to me, just didn't seem like they didn't need to do this issue. This was not a pressing story that needed to be told. And that's why I can't like. That's why I just don't like it any longer. Anyways, if you have any comments or questions, let me know. Rate the video. Facebook link, Crunchyroll anime reviews. I have more reviews and stuff later. So until